The Survivor Specialist Phil, John, and McKenna are back, and we have another defining episode for you today. Today, we are talking Charlie's defining episode, Mama Bear, episode number 12 from Survivor 46, also known as the Q Boot. But I truly do think that this is the Charlie episode. Q goes home. We see Charlie and Maria turning on each other. Maria has the plan to boot Charlie. Charlie has the plan to boot Maria. Maria wins immunity. And we see that Charlie has the numbers in a way that Maria thought she did. Charlie has 4 of the final 6, showing off his social game, showing off his strategic game, showing off the emotional part of his game, of how hard it is for him to try to make these decisions. And also showing off like the game body side of him that says, I can't take Maria on any rewards. We agreed to this. And he sticks to that even when it's the reward that Maria wants the most, and ultimately is probably the reason why Charlie loses, even though Maria, I don't think, has ever said that. So Mama Bear, Q's boot, one of those crazy season 46 episodes, but feels like the real Charlie episode to me.
Yeah, for sure. It was really interesting rewatching this one back because I haven't rewatched it or at all. So going back into it, seeing kind of Charlie's inner workings of, all right, I need to take Maria out, and then him being this really charismatic guy that when Maria is like, okay, we need to take Charlie out, the girls are like, yeah, he's the one to beat. He's the one running the show, blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, they still keep him in, even though they are literally acknowledging his threats and could take him out here.
And they're all saying if he gets to the end, he's going to win. He's going to beat us in the final 3, which we ultimately know isn't true, just like we know that he's not Uncle Charlie to Maria's kids. But here we are.
And this is such a fascinating episode to watch now, 2 seasons removed, after especially seeing a tight duo in Kyle and Camilla know they have to cut each other. And to see Charlie and Maria discuss the fact, like, independently that they have to cut each other, but then also ultimately, like, not be okay with cutting each other at the same time. This episode is just, like you said, Phil, like, is this the episode where Charlie loses the game?
Yes,
and that's kind of how we define him, right? Like, we get those things that define Charlie. I mean, when we were talking about what does define Charlie as a person, right? Like, we don't want to lean into the weird decision that production made to just like throw Taylor Swift at us over and over again when it came to Charlie. But we do get a Taylor Swift reference in this episode still.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, because when he's reading his note, it's all the Taylor Swift stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So it's still there. But what we do see, like you said, we have this very socially strong player who's there, really has a connection with everyone left in the game other than Q. And even that isn't the worst connection either because of Maria and the relationship he has there. And he has the options. We see him talking about having options, right? Like, this is the time where we're kind of comparing Charlie to like a Kim Spradlin type player, just the amount of times he references options in this episode. This is what defines Charlie as a player, and what makes fans really excited to see him in 50 is this is someone who, there's the argument about whether or not he should have beaten Kenzie. There's the fact that he showed a lot of ability in his gameplay, and the fact that some people kind of feel shorted by the way he was edited in this season in general. So it's fascinating to see it all kind of culminate in this one episode, which ends up being the penultimate episode of the season, where he actually takes control of the game and makes the game move that should set him up to win a game, but ultimately doesn't.
What's really interesting here about Charlie and Maria, as opposed to Camilla and Kyle, is we get a bunch of confessionals from Charlie and Maria saying, like, should I do this? Will the other be mad at me? Is this the right move? Blah, blah, blah. So, like, they're doing it so secretively, where Kyle and Camilla were out in front with it all. And even though Maria and Charlie both like subconsciously know that the other has to go, and it still just has that little level of secrecy that, you know, could be the downfall, because it's also happening at final 6, not 4.
This is such a classic example too of when you have a plan and you're going to be the one executing the blind side, everything's great and funny.
Hmm.
When you get blindsided, when you think you're executing the blindside, it brings the mood down a lot, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like that's this with Maria. Maria and Charlie are constantly talking about, I don't think that this will be taken personally. I think it'll be okay, all of that. In the end, it feels like Maria took it personally, but Maria was going for Charlie anyway. So do you think what my question comes down to with this is, will Charlie try to play it any differently now going into this season, right? We talked about Genevieve not too long ago. Genevieve started off as a robot and then started playing very emotionally. On this season, we see Charlie play very emotionally and how it burns him with
Mhm.
this relationship with Maria. And Maria was trying to get him anyway. So could we see Charlie play a little bit more with his cards closer to his chest and not be as open? And could that hurt him? Because it seemed like that was his biggest strength of the season, but could the whole Maria thing just throw him for a loop?
Like, granted, he couldn't get Maria this episode because she had immunity, so the logical choice was to go for her number 2, which Maria says in Q. And Charlie is honest with her. Charlie gives her the plan and is like, "Hey, Maria, just so you know, I don't want you to be left out. We're going for Q."
Mhm.
But she doesn't even think that that could actually be a plan because she has talked to the other people and believed them so much that they're voting Charlie out here. So she doesn't even let Q know, "Hey, maybe just in case, play your idol. I know you're at least getting Charlie's vote." She says to Q like, "Hey, you might get 1 vote."
And if you think about it, right? So let's look at the final votes and how they shake out. Liz votes for Charlie. Ben has gone on the record saying he would have voted for Charlie. Kenzie, it depends on the situation, but Kenzie might vote for Charlie, but Kenzie and Charlie are pretty close. So out of this final 6, Liz votes for Charlie. Ben would have voted for Charlie. That's 2 votes. Maria thought those were votes for her. That's I think the difference. Maybe not Ben, because Ben always kind of felt like it was pretty obviously he was going to vote for Charlie. But I think that's where Maria just missed this. And I think that's what Charlie's biggest strength is. And I know that there's some people who are super excited Charlie's back. I know there's other people who think Charlie's boring and whatever, to each their own. Unless you're going to hate on Coach in the Martyr Approach episode that we do next time. But to each their own otherwise. So when I sit here and I look at how Charlie played this game, this is a very easy game to replicate because he's just being Charlie. He's just connecting with people about Taylor Swift or music or whatever it takes, that he has a better relationship with them, even though they feel like he can win at Final 3 than Maria does because they're more worried about Maria. And when Maria wins, they say, let's get rid of Q instead of Charlie, even though Q's not going to get any votes at the end, right? So I think that this is an easy game to replicate, which is not the case for many of the players who are out there. But because Charlie didn't win and lost to another person who pretty much just played a social game, does he try to play it differently? Like, that's just where my head keeps going. I know I kind of already asked that, but this episode really shows where Charlie tried to go strategic and not take Maria with him. He went with the relationships and felt that he had everything. He thought this was going to be a 5-1 vote. He never thought Maria was going to vote for him. He thought 5-1 vote. Now, good thing for him that Maria didn't vote with him, because Maria ultimately is the reason why Q doesn't play the idol and why Charlie's still in the game. But will he feel so burned by these relationships that it ultimately leads him to not play the same game? Like, that's just where my head is at, because if he plays the same game, he could easily win.
Mhm.
But I don't know what Charlie's other strengths are other than social, because I don't feel like his strategic game is all that good.
I'm going to push back on that idea a little bit, because I don't know if he can play the same game, because I think what makes Charlie so effective here is he's being underestimated. Right? Like, the big reason why he's able to pull this one off on Maria is because Maria's underestimating him and what he's capable of doing based on his social ability, based on his ability to connect and the relationships he's built with Maria. Maria doesn't think that he can pull it off on her. And we're going in with people who have watched his season. They know what he's capable of now. I don't know if he can replicate this game as well. Like, yes, I think playing it is easy enough to replicate because he can just be Charlie. I think that's very much how he presented himself on the island, is just Charlie. But everyone's going to be thinking this is someone who is ruthless enough to cut his closest ally, someone like his day one ally at Final Six in order to ensure himself a
But he
position at the
never
end.
did, is the thing. He
I
never cut his ally. Ben was the one who sent people to fire. She was immune. Like he never really got a chance to cut his closest ally. So
Maria goes
yes,
at 5, though. Remember,
what was that?
Maria goes at 5, not at fire.
Yeah, but Maria goes at 5 because she tried to vote Charlie out the episode before, the episode we're talking about. So that's again, like, Maria can be as mad at Charlie as she wants to, but Maria was going for him too. It's just always more devastating when you realize that there was a plot against you as well. So really, Charlie's argument with this whole thing too is there wasn't actually a plot against you, Maria. It was just, we're going to get rid of Q. You went after me. Now I have free reign to get rid of you, which is kind of how it ends up going, right? I do think, though, like McKenna brings up a good point. Ben, Charlie doesn't actually have to backstab anybody, and his closest ally from day one, it was Maria, but him and Ben were never going to turn on each other either. Like, Ben's name never comes out of Charlie's mouth because really Charlie would have loved to go to the final 3 with Maria and Ben. And Maria might not say that because she's more worried maybe about losing to Charlie, but I think that she was willing to go along with that too, or keep Ben around as long as she could, just to make it happen. Like, Ben was never really a threat to anybody. At least that's how they felt. So Charlie's relationship with Ben has really lasted well beyond the game. His relationship with other people. I mean, then he gets to do the On Fire podcast, everything. Like, I don't know what Charlie's relationship is like with Kenzie. I know he doesn't have one with Maria at this point. At least that's what he said. So I don't know. I just feel like he didn't actually have to cut anybody here. Charlie's coming out of this episode. This is a defining episode. He votes with his allies. He's the one who gets voted against by an ally. Mm-hmm. So is he actually one of the more trustworthy players coming into this game? I think he is, because when did he ever screw?
Like, I told Maria what I was doing. Yeah. She didn't tell me. So he does what's good is he has that story to tell people, but we know what he is capable of. If Maria didn't win, he was trying to cut Maria. Yeah. So we know that he's capable of pulling off something like that. But the people on the island, he could definitely just say, I didn't do it.
That was the
she
edit.
Came after me first.
Yeah, and it could easily be that was the edit, right? Like, that's an easy argument to make, because even if people are listening to Charlie's post-game press and all of that, who remembers it at this point, right? Like, unless you're studying it, you're not going to remember it. So Charlie can easily say, you've all played this game. I wasn't actually going to vote out Maria. They just wanted the most drama because of Q. Now, Q and Tiffany could have a different story to tell there, because Q and Tiffany obviously played the game with Charlie, and here's Q getting booted in Charlie's defining episode, according to us. Q's on the island too, but I do think that all 3 of them are going to be separated. So what difference does it really make?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's so interesting because Charlie is the type of person who I think is a little innocuous if he doesn't come second place in this season.
Yeah. If he doesn't make final tribal, see, here's the thing though. I actually think if he finishes 4th or 5th, there might be a bigger fear that he had the potential to win, right? It's kind of like Genevieve. We don't know what Genevieve's final tribal is like. I think there's going to be some people who sit there and say,
we saw it.
Beat him. Kenzie, I can beat him. If Kenzie beat him, I can beat him. Like, I don't think a lot of people respect Kenzie's win. I truly believe that. I think some of the online community does, but I think from a lot of survivors, it's very much like, what did Kenzie really do?
I think also, like, even in a final tribal situation, Charlie could have had the better game, but sometimes final tribal sways people enough to be like, I'm blinded by what's going on. So I think Charlie now has that know all to get rid of those people that are like a Kenzie, where they can like switch some people's votes at the last minute and kind of put up that smoke screen of like, look at my game. I mean, I think Kenzie did a great job. I think both her and Charlie were very competitive in that final tribal council.
Yeah. And there were people who came in with their minds made up. Like, Tiffany obviously was already going to vote for Kenzie.
Correct.
Venus was already going to vote for Kenzie.
But like you were saying, like, Ben says now that he would have voted for Charlie. or were you talking about this vote that we're talking about? The Q boot would have voted for Charlie?
No.
To
I'm
win the
talking
game.
about he would have voted for him
Okay.
to win. Yeah, he would
Yeah,
have voted for
so
him to win.
Ben would have voted for Charlie, but Kenzie in that moment put up this like something where Ben was like, okay, I need
Well,
to.
Ben didn't get the opportunity to vote because Maria didn't tie it.
Yeah, that's what it was. McKenna,
I
come back
am
to work.
so lost.
McKenna's so confused for some reason on what happened in season 46. There was
I
not
really
a tie.
Wasn't that long ago,
I'm
McKenna, that we
confused.
podcast about it?
I'm confusing Heidi and Maria because they both are on green and had black hair, and was like, I'm throwing Maria in fire when she wasn't in there. Ben is, I knew what, as I was talking about Kenzie and Charlie sitting right next to them, but decided to say that he was a juror. Man, this season is rough.
And I just want to address this too, because in this episode we see the Ben breakdown just to get McKenna out of the dredges here. So
Yeah,
we
thank
see
you.
the Ben breakdown, and we see him and Kenzie having that conversation where Kenzie's like, I got up, I held his hand, even though he voted for me because Ben made a mistake, which Ben admits was literally just a brain fart. And Charlie still had a better relationship with Ben and would have gotten Ben's vote for the win.
Yeah.
If it was a tie. If it was a 4-4 tie, if Maria causes the tie, Ben votes for Charlie to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that speaks to how good Charlie's social game is. However, the people that Charlie didn't get a lot of time to spend with didn't vote for him to win. So can Charlie broaden his base now coming out here? Because I think Charlie probably thinks about this episode a lot.
Yeah.
I think about if he takes Maria to go to on the reward, he probably wins the game.
And that was going to be my next question for you two. Do you think now Charlie is still so adamant about not taking his closest ally on reward? Or if he wins a reward, is he just going to take his closest ally with him?
I think he needs that relationship with Kenzie and Liz to push himself forward, and using this reward also the excuse of we didn't go on pizza, so I'm going to take these two. It's the added like kind of knife that Jeff gives of, oh, and by the way, this is loved ones. So I feel like that also impacts Charlie's winning of the challenge too. So I know
We've
for
talked about
me,
it many times again.
I know for me, I wouldn't want to win the loved one challenge, but now Charlie's just thinking, oh, Chinese takeout. And so I'm just going to not let Maria get some Chinese takeout. She just had pizza. So it is really difficult, but they agreed on it. And Charlie's saying in this episode, I hope she's not mad. And then Maria gets to the beach being like, I understand why he did it, but like, it's just very upsetting right now. I don't know how to process it.
I'm not sure what he'll do. I feel like it's so circumstantial. And I do also think that being a returning player season makes it a little bit easier. You know these people's personalities. You know who's going to take things personally, and you know who's not going to. You know who's a bona fide gamer and who's out there who's got a little bit more of an ego that you have to stroke that ego a little bit. I think all of those things work in Charlie's favor. And I think Charlie's somebody who's smart enough to know how to play off of everybody in a way that some other players can't.
If he makes it and wins the loved one visit again and doesn't take Jenna Lewis, I think we're in a situation where he loses again.
He didn't learn his lesson. And that's the biggest thing here, because Maria was going after Charlie. Really, you could argue, well, Charlie didn't really make a mistake here. Maria was going after him anyway. So what difference does it make? But it is the moment, I truly think, that loses him the game. I don't think it's the fire in Kenzie's eyes. I think that it's the fact that Maria and Charlie played similar games, and Charlie was the one who sat there, and Maria didn't want to reward him because she'd felt burned by him. So, but he has to get in with the right people, and it's just going to depend on who he plays with. But I also think that it helps that he's played with people like you. He's played with people like Venus. He's played with people like Liz. He's played with people like Maria. He's played with all these massive, massive personalities. And he's played with somebody like Ben, who doesn't write the right name down. And it's not even close to being the right name. And it's spelled so wrong. And like, he's played with all of that. So I think that him going out there and playing on this season, he's got to go and figure out each one of these people, but he has that ability to do it. And I think there's going to be some old school people who are like, was this guy actually that good at Survivor? Like, he's just like, he keeps talking about freaking Taylor Swift. Like, I don't know what he's talking about right now.
But that can make him a little bit unassuming.
That's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
what, and I think that's a good thing for him because I think
Mhm.
ultimately people are just like, what are we doing?
Because that's a lot of a lot of what people remember about Charlie. And Jeff, I mean, quotes it in the cast reveal. He tells us like 3 Taylor Swift puns along with Charlie's cast reveal. So
Yeah.
that's obviously like one of the biggest things about Charlie. And I think that actually bodes well for him moving into
Mhm.
the game because people are just going to be like, all right, I want a Taylor Swift and this band battle you again, like you did with Ben. And then he, increases that social game again.
Yeah,
Who
I
do you
think
think?
Charlie does. Sorry, was
Go
that
ahead,
Phil?
John. No, you go ahead, John.
I was going to say, I think Charlie does kind of get the benefit of the look of his edit being so Taylor Swift heavy that it is a bit one note and it does kind of detract from his social game and his strategy game. I think, Phil, you're right when you say, the people he spent the most time with are the people whose votes he got at Final Tribal Council, sans Maria. But that means that Charlie probably benefits from a game where there are tribe swaps, and you have to imagine in an all-star cast they're doing tribe swaps to mix.
Well, we
this up.
don't know. We voted on it.
I'm hoping people were smart enough to vote for tribe swaps.
I'm just saying, man. You never know.
Did you vote for Tribe Swap, Phil?
I did. That was one that I definitely did. My question is like, if Charlie starts doing this and he's on the same tribe as like Colby or Jenna Lewis, and he starts just naming all these songs, Colby and Jenna Lewis just walk away and be like, "What are we doing?" Right? Like, what show?
Yes.
There's no way they're on board with that. 0%.
I would love to watch Colby and Charlie interact.
Do that. I want to know who Colby. Colby, can you name 10 songs by like what is Colby's band? That's what I want to know. I'm a man of simple taste. All right. That's going to cover it this time. So thank you all so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Go check out our older episodes too if you haven't checked those out. And next time, we're going to be jumping into Coaches, the Martyr Approach, which is the greatest episode in Survivor history, according to me. And my opinion is the only one that matters. So that'll be next time. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you then.